Picture this. You are standing in the corporate break room, coffee in hand, casually catching up with a peer. They mention a project in the passing. They didn't ask for a debrief, but suddenly you find yourself launching into an endless post-mortem of a decision you made 3 weeks ago. You lay out the reasoning all over again, the alternatives you considered, the risks you weighed. You are over-explaining a closed case to a jury of one who never asked to be empaneled. We have all been in this coffee chat. Your colleague listens. They are kind. They nod at the reasonable parts of your explanation and offer the gentle validation that people offer when they can see someone needs it. They tell you it sounds like you made the right call. You agree. You walk back to your desk feeling, for a moment, settled. But then at 2 o'clock in the morning, the internal anxiety loop powers back up. You're lying awake turning the exact same decision over in the dark, looking for a feeling of certainty that still refuses to arrive. You tell yourself that you're just being diligent, that the coffee chat was just a casual post-mortem to process the work, that constantly re-evaluating your choices is how you maintain high standards. But reality is entirely different. This is mistake number 6. Replaying decisions after they are made. What you did in the break room was not a post-mortem. It was not a review. A true post-mortem extracts a lesson, documents it, and permanently closes the book. Review closes. What you are doing is an endless replay, and replay circles. When you bring up a 3-week-old decision over coffee, you're not revisiting the decision for new data. You're asking someone else to finish making the decision for you because you haven't fully owned the cut. The wound is still open. Consider the legal system. The entire architecture of the court is built around the supreme authority of the final gavel. Once the verdict is delivered, the case is closed. An appeal is only granted if substantial material, new evidence is introduced. You cannot reopen a trial simply because the judge feels anxious about the ruling at midnight. Yet, in corporate environments, highly capable professionals treat their own decisions as if they're permanently under appeal. We relitigate the verdict constantly. I watched a lead developer at a tech firm make a difficult but necessary call to cut a legacy feature before launch. It was the right move. The cut was executed. But for the next month, that developer brought up the feature decision in every one-on-one, in Slack channels, over the lunches. They weren't looking for operational feedback. They were relitigating their own verdict, begging the corporate court to reassure them that the gavel fell in the right place. To understand why we do this, we have to look at the mechanism of the certainty trap. Education trained high performers to believe that being wrong is the ultimate failure, and that sufficient analysis eliminates risk. We are conditioned to wait for the threshold of absolute certainty. But for meaningful leadership decisions, that threshold does not exist. Decisions are made at the threshold of enough. When you make a cut without absolute certainty, you experience discomfort. And instead of tolerating that discomfort as the natural weight of leadership, you seek a painkiller. That is what the coffee chat is. Relitigating a decision over coffee is like taking a painkiller for a broken arm instead of setting the bone. It numbs the anxiety for an hour, but it does not heal the break. You cannot heal an open wound from the outside. The cost of this pattern is severe, and it drains your authority in 2 directions, externally and internally. Externally, it creates a massive signal leak. You think your colleague at the coffee machine thinks you are thoughtful. Reality: they are updating their invisible ledger. The room is always reading your transmission. When you casually reopen closed cases, the room reads that your cuts are provisional. They learn that your decisions are not load-bearing. A leader who treats their own decisions as suggestions cannot be trusted to hold the line when real pressure arrives. You are actively draining your own executive presence into a paper cup. Internally, the cost is even worse. Have you ever signed the closing papers on a new house, gotten the keys, and then continued to scroll online real estate portals every night, just to see if a better, cheaper house popped up? That is exactly what you are doing to your decision identity. Every time you return to a closed decision and feed the replay loop, you train your nervous system to believe that your cuts are not reliable. You actively lower your threshold for making the next decision. You teach yourself to doubt the blade. Look at the historical account of Lot's wife fleeing the destruction of Sodom. She was given clear direction. The escape route was open. The cut was made. But she turned her sustained attention backward toward the life she had already been severed from. The text says she became a pillar of salt. She wasn't stopped by magic. She was stopped by the physical act of giving her sustained attention to what had already been cut away. When you relitigate closed cases, you become Lot's wife in the corporate corridor. You are frozen at the exact point of transition. The alternative is what the Apostle Paul called epekteinomenos, the forward reach. It is the image of a runner stretched entirely forward, holding absolutely zero energy in reserve for the backward gaze. Paul said, forgetting those things which are behind. He didn't mean amnesia. He meant the deliberate willed choice to reclassify the past as waste so that 100% of his energy could be redirected to the execution of the next step. To stop the authority drain and rebuild your decision identity, you must fundamentally change how you handle the aftermath of a cut. When the 2 a.m. replay begins, or when you find yourself about to bring up that 3-week-old project in the break room, you need an instrument to shut down the replay. That instrument is the closure question. When the urge to relitigate arises, ask yourself this exact question. Given what I knew at the time I made this decision, would I make it again? Do not judge your past self with today's information. Do not use hindsight. Look strictly at the moment of the decision, the data available, the judgment applied, the constraints of the room. Was the decision sound? If the honest answer is yes, then your work is done. The case is closed. The verdict stands. Stop relitigating closed cases. Shut the wound and hold the cut. When you stop asking the corporate jury to validate decisions you already made, the room will read something entirely new in you. They will read finality. They will see someone whose internal system is fully aligned with the external actions. The energy you used to spend looking backward will suddenly become available to execute the path ahead. The cut is made. The door is locked. Drop the gavel, drink your coffee, and reach forward. Over-explaining a past decision is an endless replay that asks others to finish making the cut for you. Use the closure question to shut the wound. Stop relitigating the verdict and hold the cut. If you want to know which of the 7 decision-making mistakes is holding your career back, click the link in the description and take the 5-minute free decision identity scorecard so that you can stop guessing and start moving your career forward.